Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. I'm grateful that a lot of us have finally realized that we need to take steps to make ourselves healthier. We want to live better lives, both physically and mentally, and just feel like we have vitality and energy. A lot of us don't know how to do that. We don't know how to find that wellness. Well, I found her, and she is somebody that is going to get you on the path to that in many different ways. Somebody with a lot of experience, dare I say almost 50 years, maybe a little bit more in terms of the natural health field. And she's with us today from Morse Wellness. Terry Morse joins us on the program. Hey, Terry, how you doing?
Steve, I am superb, and I'm so happy to be here. This is so much fun.
Absolutely. And we're going to learn a lot. We're going to have fun with it. When we talk about this thing called wellness, before we get into what you offer and your background, what do we mean by the word wellness? How do you define wellness?
Well, the body is a whole thing. And a lot of people, some people in conventional medicine will look at pieces of it. So wellness is the whole body. It's how it works together. The body is a very complex mechanism, but it's a living organism. And Steve, this is one of my key points. It's self-healing.
Yes.
A lot of people don't even understand that your body can heal itself. And so this is what I focus on, teaching people how that works and how they can do it.
1,000,000,000%. And I hear it, then I forget that, and then I hear it again, and it's just a reminder. And this sounds, geeky, but years ago, I fell and had a wart, and it was problematic. I went to a podiatrist a number of times. He couldn't take care of it, and he just said, your body will heal. Will it to go away? Will it to go away? And I'm like, the guy's a quack. I'm getting out of here. But I did what he said. And I'm not kidding you. I was there 3 times. We couldn't get rid of it. I started saying, please, I need you to go away. This is, the foot is healthy, blah, blah, blah. 2 days later, it went away. And that was my belief that the body can heal itself when you connect this with the body and that whole concept. And we're the ones that beat on our bodies, and that's why we have all this disease and everything else, right?
Exactly, Steve. And, I'm glad you brought that up, because most people understand that we are 70% water. And most people at this stage of the game have actually accessed at one point or another the information from that Japanese doctor Emoto that showed how you can change the structure of water by what you put on it, the label that you put love on it. And so when we give love to our bodies, or we tell it to do something, it's an instruction. And we're divine beings, and we have the power. And we just have been so disempowered, Steve. And so that's it. You took your power back. That's awesome.
It's funny you mentioned, the water thing. Yes. And the other challenge is so many of us are dehydrated. We're not even drinking enough water. Right?
Oh, that's my big point, Steve. I tell you, it's enormous, because you can drink all the water you want and still be dehydrated. When I work with people one-on-one, even remotely, I test them. I have a way of testing. I can't get into all that today, but I remote test just as effectively as I do in person through kinesiology. And I'm very skilled at it. I've been at it for 50 years. But anyway, point is, why do people not hydrate when they drink a lot of water? You know that that's true? Do you know that, Steve?
All right. Our connection cut out.
Do you know that you can't?
For just a second. So I want you to, the last part,
okay,
restate that.
My question is, do you know that people might not hydrate even if they drink a lot of water?
I have no idea. And that's a shock to me.
Okay, it's true. And that is the basis for a lot of my work, because people, when you're dehydrated, your cells will shrink. Things won't work. And so there's many different ways that you need to hydrate. And one of them is what water you're drinking. I have one of our sessions is going to be on that. And the other one is salt. And I'm going to cover that in every session, the 10 sessions we do. People think salt is such a bad thing because we've been trained into that. But guess what? In 1900, people were ingesting 100 grams of salt a day. Do you know why? Because they preserved their food in salt. And then refrigeration came about, and they stopped doing that. And so the consumption of salt dropped. And guess what happened? High blood pressure went up.
Wow.
Is that a shock?
Yes.
Went up.
Yeah.
the powers that be had to make the narrative logical for people. So they did a little research project on 6 rats or so. And it appeared to prove that salt made blood pressure go up. But guess what? It does not. Salt will hydrate the individual. Remember that saying, a man is worth his salt, and the salt of the earth, and that's God's mineral supplement. It's everywhere in the world, salt. But you've got to have it, because if you have sodium at the cellular level, I'm going into my thing on salt now. This is my rant.
This is going against everything that I know, because I have not. Wait for it. Here it is. I have not touched a salt shaker or put salt on anything I eat or ingest, Terry, since I was a kid. I'm not joking.
Steve.
I'm not joking. And
I know. I get that, because I did the same thing. I did it. And so did my husband. And you know what? It makes you worse. And I have proven it to myself and other people over and over again. Your energy soars when you include the right salt in your diet, because it's God's mineral supplement. It's 80 to 90 minerals. And get this, Steve, I just have to go here because we're on the topic and it's so important. I can't leave it. In the medical books, the medical people who study medicine study in their school that at the cellular level, there's sodium and potassium. And they call it the sodium potassium pump at the cellular level. I know this is going deep, but it's easy. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have sufficient sodium, in other words, actually 2.5 times more sodium than potassium at the cellular level, you cannot bring the water that you drink inside your cells. And guess what? That's called dehydration.
Wow. And what does sodium do? Makes you retain water, which is good.
Inside your cells.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you don't have it, you'll retain water outside your cells because it can't get in, and that's called fluid retention.
Wow. Okay. We didn't even talk about your services. We didn't talk about your background. We went on this tangent, but it's so important. And it was my understanding from a kid to now, it was my dad, by the way, that got me to stop using salt. I am going to share with you that he passed at a young age and he was healthy.
I rest my case.
It's my understanding that there's enough salt in everything already. Not the case?
Oh, God. Oh, but Steve, that's such a good point. There's enough sodium of the wrong kind. Sodium chloride is a waste product. It's acidifying for the body. It's terrible. I'm not talking about sodium chloride. I'm talking about God's mineral supplement, the 70, 80, 90 minerals that you find in pure sea salt.
Okay. Our connection is I may have lost you here, and this is a key point. So I'm hoping, Terry, you come back, or we're going to take a break and then we'll find you. We've made a change here because we were starting to lose Terry at a very pinnacle point of what we were just talking about, and that is sodium and minerals. And it's funny that you talk about these minerals because I've added minerals to my even water, just an additive. Terry, but I never had a thought that comes from the right kind of sodium. What should we be adding? What should we be adding to our diet to get, well, let's call it the right sodium?
Yes, actually it's got to be organic sodium in food. Celery has good sodium in it. And actually, as I think I started to say, there's 2.5 times more sodium at the cellular level than potassium if you're in perfect health, which most people are not. But that was one of my specialties in studying minerals, so you have to have a lot more. But your question is, where do you get it from? So this is why salt has been prized so much through the centuries, because it's hard to get. You have to live near an ocean or some deposit of salt. So it was actually used as money, and it was used, you would bring a gift to people because you could preserve your food with it. And in the a long time ago when people were fighting wars on land, not too long ago, but before, the conquerors, the first thing they would do is take over the salt stores so that people could not have salt because it would weaken the men and they couldn't digest their food, their kidneys would go weak. So where do you get it? It's got to be a good quality sea salt. And so the northwestern coast of France is an excellent place to get it. It's called Celtic salt, Celtic. And I don't sell that. The website for that is selinanaturally.com. That's SELINA naturally.com. They are excellent. The Dr. Jacques Delong was a medical doctor from France, and he's deceased now, but his daughter took up the company and put it in the United States, but they were from France. But they have a very pure sea salt. So here's Steve. I know this is anathema to you, but I literally take pinches of salt 5 to 10 times a day to energize my body, and you can feel it instantly because these minerals absorb through the mucosa of your mouth. And as I was saying, the water that goes around your cells will not penetrate the cells without enough sodium to carry it in. So therefore, it goes to your bladder, and a lot of people have to run to the bathroom a lot, especially when you're traveling. And that has been so useful to me. If I feel like I have to stop and use, the restroom or something, I just take some salt instead, and I keep on going.
Wow.
You can take it at bedtime, and you don't have to get up at night.
I don't even know what to say. This is fantastic. Tell me what we should be taking again. You mentioned a brand, and I am literally going to write it down.
It's SELINA naturally.com, but the name of the salt is from the northwestern coast of France, which is the Celtic coast of France, CELTIC. And it's hand collected daily with wooden paddles. And you see, some salts that are very popular in the world today are collected with bulldozers. Well, salt is never supposed to be touched with metal. What does that tell you?
And that, honestly, that makes perfect sense. And by the way, I just found it on Amazon. And hang on one sec.
You can get it on Amazon. But it's a family company, so I like to support these small family-operated companies.
Interesting. And you snack on this stuff?
Steve, I have clients in my office every day, okay? And I test them. Let's just say, like yesterday, somebody came up, drink a lot of water, and they're still dehydrated. I say, okay, don't drink any more water. Take this pinch of salt. I retest them. They're hydrated. What does that say?
Unbelievable. This is like a game changer.
I know.
Seriously. And this goes, the number one thing that I do is not use salt. I don't add it. Let's put it that way. You're going to laugh. I don't even have a salt shaker in my home.
Well, I'm not surprised. I did that too, Steve. We're all brainwashed.
Yeah. Interesting. And that's, we're talking decades and decades and decades. Let's talk, we're going to pivot here for just a moment and talk about some of the stuff that, because this is, for me, groundbreaking, and I think a lot of us, in terms of our thinking, what services do you offer when you work with people?
Well, that's a good question, and I'm glad I wanted to go there, too, in another way, because the salt is a piece of the puzzle. It's like, okay, let me help you understand how your body works. If you understand it, you can work with it instead of against it. And so I educate people. I'm a health educator. I'm a naturopathic doctor, but I also have doctorates in natural medicine and humanitarian services from the World Organization of Natural Medicine. So I have a really broad background. I've studied under enormously great mentors, which I don't need to name definitively. People wouldn't even recognize them probably. But anyway, I do offer in-person and remote consultations. And usually it's an hour or 2 hours in the beginning because there's so much to cover. But also, I do this frequency scanning, Steve, because, I know a lot, right? But I'm a human being. I've only got one brain, and we know how great computers are, right? And so we've got these apps on our phone now. Well, there's this amazing app with 120,000 frequencies in it from this company in Utah. And this man is amazing. His son, he adopted a son 25 years ago who couldn't walk when he was 4 or 5 even, didn't know it when he was born. But anyway, he traveled the world trying to find something that would help his son, which he's fine now. He developed this system. He bought it from Russia for $50,000. Anyway, I can scan people with this app on this device from a distance anywhere in the world and identify numerically exactly the functioning of every organ and system in the body. So that's one of the things I do so that I'm certain that I'm on track. I know how to get on track otherwise, but what if I don't? What if I, miss, So I want something that's really definitive. Plus, in addition to that, Steve, you know how great frequencies are. Everybody's about frequencies today. It sends frequencies to the person's body for healing instantly. So we not only identify what's out of balance, but we put things back into balance. Not everything, but maybe 75% of them. So I do that. I do sound therapy, color therapy, frequency broadcasting is what I was just talking about. And I have circulation, blood circulation therapy, terahertz therapy, which is a very fine frequency that a lot of people don't know. And of course I evaluate people's supplements. They bring boxes of supplements to me or just give me a list over the email if they're in California. I'm in Minnesota. Dietary consultations, because most people really are not eating the right things, even if they're eating so-called healthy, because we're being marketed to death. And then, of course, emotional and mental clearing and individualized wellness program design. I know that's a mouthful, but I did answer your question.
Yeah, my head is spinning. And all of this stuff I'm aware of, especially with the frequencies that we talk about and energy healing, which that sounds like it's, am I in the zone when we talk about that?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
I don't do hands-on healing. I don't do that. Some people do.
Sure.
I work with devices and frequencies and the body's own energies, and I teach people how to use their own frequencies.
And just the one app you're talking about, you can use to determine what's going on with somebody?
Exactly. You can identify how many parasites, which bacteria, which viruses, which fungus a person has. And I mean, it is so advanced. You can tell how many years in advance this thing occurred, how many organs it's affecting. It's just enormous. Furthermore, Steve, just to put it out there in case anybody's interested, this device is something anybody can purchase it. It takes a learning curve. You got to study. But I take people under my wing and I teach them, and they purchase it through me. But it's a company in Utah, and so anybody can have it in their home as long as they're willing to study and learn how to use it.
Wow. Where did you come from?
I'm one of a kind, Steve.
You
There's
are.
nobody like me.
Yeah, I seriously mean that. I really do. And what you're saying is all in line with things, aside from the salt thing, which I learned a lot here. Even the frequency healing, it's on my radar, absolutely. We're out of time because we had some tech issues, but we're gonna rejoin this. We're gonna restart all of this next time we get together. How do we find you, Terry?
So that's real easy. It's my last name, which is Morse, like Morse code, M-O-R-S-E, morsewellness.org, M-O-R-S-E, wellness.org. And there's a contact sheet on there. And if people want to actually have my services, there's a Join Us button that they can fill out the intake form. And so that's real easy. But I'd like to leave with this, Steve, because this is important. One of the questions that somebody asked me a while ago was, what would you say to people who are wanting to get started and need some encouragement? And I would say this to anyone: trust yourself. Know that you're unique. We each have all we need within ourselves, and we have to be humble, stand tall, and let our light shine before everyone. I've had enormous challenges. You can overcome every challenge. There is always a way. Believe me, I've been at the bottom.
I totally got you there. And I learned this phrase, which is in line with what you just said, Terry, about 1.5 years ago in my journey. And it's been a rocky one in the beginning there, and it's all good now. All I need is within me now.
Yep.
All I need is within me now. And that is what we talked about before, the power to heal yourself. Everything is all there. So fantastic meeting you. Amazing talking with you about everything. There's so much to unpack. And thank you for being here. And I'm looking forward next time we definitely get together.